Hello world, Augustine Cortez coming live from Web3, doing a daily documentation of creating an NFT collection, learning tokenomics, blockchain, everything pertaining to Web3. And today was probably one of the most profound days. And I say that quite often, it's just so many things of Web3 are monumental. Had a really productive day. It's currently around 2 a.m., so I am extremely exhausted. But more than exhausted, I am excited. I feel that I stumbled upon a field that caused my curiosity at a core level. This is an area that is innately passionate to me, and it ties beautifully to this mission that I've been on for majority of my life. Ever since I was probably 17, 18, my Instagram bio and Twitter bio was awareness of awareness. And this whole premise of meaning was think about thinking about thinking. In other words, metacognition. And I carried this saying very deeply to me because when you think about thinking, it's an everlasting compound journey. And one of the best things about metacognition is you start to realize how everything is a system and how inputs lead to outputs, and you can do calculations to increase the possibility of yielding a desired outcome. And the collection of these desired outcomes and non-desired outcomes is the journey of life, right? So if you do good calculations, do good movements, life will play out a certain type of way. Now, this is this conversation isn't to discuss the possibility of variables, positioning, privilege, and so on, but rather the narrative that you are going through experiences and judgment will be your operating system throughout these journeys. And one of the most important things is to understand systems. The reason being so is because systems rule the world. They rule the universe. They rule you and I, and they are one of the most profound things in existence because everything is a system. And tying systems to metacognition and equally importantly is the mesh with education, right? And talking about systems and education, you probably automatically associate the current education system. But no, that's looking at it from a very surface level. If you take a look at the core of education, this is the progression of humanity. This is humanity's cognition, the point of current understanding and meaning of semantics, logic, philosophy, information, and so on. So the current system of our thinking capabilities is tied to the education system of life of Homo sapiens, not of Yale, not of Harvard, not of Ivy Leagues. This is the entirety of the world and the history of everything because it grows linearly in terms of understanding. So with systems, where does this tie to where we are with our project and blockchain learnings? Well, it really falls under tokenomics. I mentioned that I've fallen in love with tokenomics in extreme depth, and the reason being so is because it opens a new dimension of value, a new dimension of systems and rules to carry validity as long as individuals work with the protocols, the rules, the game theory, and there's algorithmic procedures that will yield a axiom of truth. So let me break that further. In terms of education, this is where we would have to define what it means to be educated, how we got here, what it takes to meet the algorithmic procedures of what we define as education, and tie it to the blockchain, which is our current epitome of economic systems. Well, one of those things that is going to be a byproduct of this is tokenomics or crypto economics. But we have to take a look at the system that is going on. Well, tying this education system of humanity's cognition with blockchain, we can create a new system of value. And if we focus on this narrative, it means that we can essentially build from the ground up, but not entirely from new ideas. Rather, bring everything that has been empirically proven to carry substantial value, current forms of understanding and meaning, and we can create a protocol and legitimacy within this domain, what it means to be educated. Talking about. So, going off this rabbit hole, I learned system theory, or I'm learning complexity system theory, socio-technological systems, theories, complex theory, calculus, and seeing how there can be a new system to yield this desired outcome, right? Going back to judgment, developing metacognition, is if you have enough knowledge to mesh a protocol and desired outcome of adding variables in a linear fashion of understanding, you could get to this protocol. And the thing about tokenomics and blockchain is that it allows other people to get ownership. It allows for incentivizing consensus mechanisms and the processes to make it work. And the area of discussion that I have documented, which is what I wanted to talk about in the beginning, but I'm glad I went off that tangent of explaining my viewpoint of system, is because I essentially gave a real life example of everything I'm about to explain right now. So we have systems, then we have complex systems, then we have social systems, then we have economic systems, and then we have blockchain economic systems. Now, these do not necessarily operate linearly, logically, in the sense of order, but rather of complexity. And this is where we have to define what is a system and where do the possibilities rely on those axioms. So a system, the simplest definition is when there are elements, or also known as variables, that interact with each other. And the interaction is called the relationship. So it's the relationship between these variables. The thing that makes systems special is complexity. So variables will interact with one another and it will not be in a linear form of progression. So let's say we have three elements, right? Element one has a certain reaction or certain relationship with element two. Element one has a complete polar opposite with relationship three. But then relationship three has a very special relationship with element two and the same relationship with element one. Why is this linear process of workarounds not essentially like algebra where A equals B plus C? This is where complexity comes in, is that every variable and every element is not going to yield the same outcome. And this is where calculus and measurement of value gets introduced to the equation. So this is where it gets very, very, very tricky, because there's the meaning and semantics of the variable, of what gives it value, how do you calculate the value if it's subjective, and a whole philosophical rift off those components. But a simpler example on things that are more objective is our body, right? Our body is a system, and our body is made out of organs, and organs are a system, and organs are made out of tissue, and tissue is a system, and a tissue is made out of cells, and cells are made of atoms, and these systems start to work around each other, but the relationships get complicated because you and I were made out of atoms, but why are we Homo sapiens? I was say human beings, and Homo sapiens one word, but why are we humans rather than a bookshelf if we're both made of atoms? This is where complexity gets introduced to that system, and it yields a complete different product. And this is a visible, objective example. The the complexity formula translates into the subjective realm as well, with thoughts and with words, with meaning, with understanding, and so on. So to get universal system is fairly impossible just due to the lack of empiricalism, which is experience and having the same processing mechanism, the same exact stimuli to react with and create a system to work around. Now, this is the area that blows my mind because trying to tie meaning and to articulate and to even explain it firsthand now, it's like stepping on quicksand because as soon as I say something, there could be a point within a single word or a single point of meaning that I can essentially create a derivative of, and that derivative will create an everlasting ripple effect of more and more derivatives because essentially any form of translation of my current system of understanding gets lost with your current system of understanding. But the whole premise is that we're systems. Everything is a system. And speaking a lot, I feel like sound completely crazy. I probably got into some point of mania, but it's a very exciting thing because at least I can make sense of it and seeing real life examples like Ethereum, Bitcoin, protocols like Polkadot, and other forms of systems, even like government and computer science, information theory, seeing how seeing what's under the hood at a microscopic level leading up to a macro outcome is very, very fascinating. And I feel like it's a touch of hearing the universe whisper to you because you're processing stimulus and stimuli is a byproduct of the universe. And it's creating a feedback loop upon itself because we are a byproduct of the universe too. And that's where complexity comes back in, right? So this is exciting stuff. If you guys want to dive further, here's a good website. Let me minimize myself. Talks about working glossary system concepts. A system is a group of interacting or interrelated entities that form a unified whole. A system is delineated by its spatial and temporal boundaries, surrounded and influenced by its environment, described by its structure and purpose, and expressed through its functioning. Systems are the subject of study of system theory. So I completely botched that up. My eyes are completely exhausted, but as you can see, complexity, systems, whole units of outcome. Super exciting stuff. I recommend you dive in here. But I'm going to stop here and I shall see you tomorrow. Thank you.